our world lead, a growing number of Americans are crossing the southern border and making Mexico City their new home. The reason? Well, remote work and cheaper living costs.
In San Diego, my apartment was probably $2,500.
For a one bedroom?
For studio.
For studio.
Here, I have a one bedroom and I pay $800 a month.
In a startling and unsettling trend, a growing number of Americans are turning their backs on the land of the free and the home of the brave, seeking refuge in an unlikely destination, Mexico. This exodus, once unthinkable for a proud and prosperous nation, is a sobering reflection of the deep-seated problems plaguing the United States, from skyrocketing costs of living to a broken healthcare system. As more and more Americans pack their bags and head south of the border, it's becoming increasingly clear that the American dream is no longer a reality for many, but rather a distant memory fading in the rearview mirror. And the numbers are as alarming as they are undeniable. According to the U.S. Department of State, the number of American citizens living in Mexico has surged by 85% over the past decade, rising from approximately 738,000 in 2010 to over 1.6 million in 2022. This staggering increase is more than just a statistical anomaly. It represents a profound shift in the way Americans view their own country and their prospects for the future. The number of permits issued to American citizens in 2022 was the highest since 2013, when the number of total U.S. nationals living in Mexico reached 20,374. After that, there was a constant annual decrease in the number of residents until 2021, when there was an uptick again. But what is driving this mass migration to a country long considered less developed and less desirable than the United States? The answer lies in a perfect storm of economic, social, and political factors that have left millions of Americans feeling trapped, desperate, and hopeless. In this video, we will delve into the complex and multifaceted reasons behind this unprecedented migration. We'll explore the economic downturns, political upheavals, and social challenges that are compelling Americans to seek a new life elsewhere. Mexico borders the United States to the north and Guatemala in Central America to the south. Over the years, Mexico has garnered a significant reputation for the steady stream of illegal immigrants crossing the border into their northern neighbor, the United States. This phenomenon is a result of the complex interplay of economic disparity, political instability, and the relentless pursuit of a better life. Initially, this mass migration cast Mexico in a negative light. The country has often been perceived as a less developed nation laden with desperation, where citizens were so disillusioned with their prospects that they risked everything to escape. However, times have changed and tables have indeed turned. Over the past few years, Mexico has become the destination of choice for U.S. citizens, with most of them choosing the capital over other popular Mexican hotspots such as Puerto Vallarta and Cancun. At the heart of this crisis is the skyrocketing cost of living in the United States. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, a key measure of inflation, rose by a staggering 9.1% between June 2021 and June 2022, the largest annual increase in over 4 decades. This means that the prices of everyday goods and services, from food and fuel to housing and healthcare, are rising at a rate that far outpaces wage growth for most Americans. The impact of this inflation crisis is particularly acute in major cities, where the cost of living has become prohibitively expensive for all but the wealthiest residents. In San Francisco, for example, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment has soared to a staggering $3,100 per month as of August 2022. Similarly, in New York City, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment has reached $4,191 per month, a 40% increase from the previous year. For many Americans, these soaring costs have made it impossible to make ends meet, even with full-time employment. A recent survey by Salary Finance found that 38% of American workers are living paycheck to paycheck, with no savings to fall back on in case of an emergency. This financial precariousness has left millions of Americans just one missed paycheck or unexpected expense away from disaster. And it's not just the cost of living that's driving Americans to seek a better life abroad. The rise of remote work, accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, has opened up new possibilities for American workers to earn a living from anywhere anywhere in the world. According to a survey by Upwork, 41.8% of the American workforce was working remotely as of December 2020, up from just 12.3% before the pandemic. The survey predicts that in 2025, this number will surge to 36.2 million Americans working remotely, an 87% increase from pre-pandemic levels. For many of these remote workers, moving to Mexico has become an increasingly attractive option. Mexico City is the fifth-rated destination for digital nomads globally. Not only does the country offer a lower cost of living, but the strength of the U.S. dollar means that American expats can enjoy a higher standard of living than they could afford back home. According to Numbeo, a crowdsourced database of consumer prices, the cost of living in Mexico is approximately 41.8% lower than in the United States, with rent prices 61.9% lower on average. In Mexico City, the top 10% of households with the highest income make 13 times more than the bottom 10%, according to a national Mexican survey of household income and expenses. What's more, the top 10% of households with the highest income makes on average about $65,000 annually, according to Mexico's National Institute of Statistics and Geography. Meanwhile, the average salary in Mexico City in 2022 was about 357,240 pesos a year, or about $20,000. Compare that to the largest city north of the border, the New York City metro area, where the average salary is close to $80,000 a year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data analyzed by ZipRecruiter's chief economist. When North Americans come to Mexico, especially Mexico City, they do not come for survival reasons. They expatriate because there is greater labor flexibility. There is a difference in cost between Mexico and the United States that is much cheaper, and their dollars go further. This means that an American earning a modest salary of $50,000 per year could live like royalty in many parts of Mexico, affording luxuries that would be out of reach in the United States. For example, a spacious three-bedroom apartment in a desirable neighborhood of Mexico City can be rented for as little as $1,000 per month. Rentals can be surprisingly affordable. Furnished one-bedroom condos near the beach start at less than $600 monthly. This is a far cry from the cramped and overpriced housing options available in major U.S. cities. But the benefits of moving to Mexico go beyond just financial considerations. For many Americans, the country offers a slower pace of life, a more welcoming culture, and a sense of community that is often lacking in the fast-paced and individualistic society of the United States. In a survey by Internations, 45% of American expats in Mexico reported being satisfied with their social life, compared to just 59% of expats worldwide. This sense of community is particularly appealing to retirees and older Americans, who make up a significant portion of the expat population in Mexico. According to the U.S. Social Security Administration, over 62,000 American retirees currently receive their Social Security benefits in Mexico, the highest number of any country outside the United States. For these retirees, Mexico offers a chance to stretch their fixed incomes further while enjoying a higher quality of life than they could afford in the United States. In addition to the lower cost of living, Mexico also offers a warmer climate, a rich cultural heritage, and access to affordable healthcare and prescription drugs. The latter point is particularly significant given the ongoing crisis of healthcare affordability in the United States. The United States spends more on healthcare per capita than any other developed country, yet ranks last in terms of access, equity, and outcomes. This means that Americans are paying more for healthcare than ever before while receiving lower quality care and facing greater financial barriers to accessing necessary treatment. Health expenditures per person in the U.S. were $12,555 in 2022, which is over $4,000 more than any other high-income nation. The average amount spent on health per person in comparable countries, $6,651, is about half of what the U.S. spends per person. In contrast, Mexico offers a more affordable and accessible healthcare system, with many American expats reporting high levels of satisfaction with the quality of care they receive. According to a survey by the International Living website, 77% of expats in Mexico reported being satisfied with the healthcare they received, with many citing the lower costs and more personalized care as major advantages over the U.S. system. Foreigners come to Mexico for a variety of medical and dental concerns, certainly for the low prices, but also for the ease of navigating the system along with the high standard of care. Long waits to see a doctor or dentist are rare, results from tests are often given directly to the patient on the same day, and many medications are sold over the counter, with made-in-Mexico drugs costing less than half the price of their U.S. equivalents. The savings for most medical procedures performed in Mexico range from 36% to 80% 99% as compared with those in the U.S. While estimates do range, it's generally significantly cheaper to get medical procedures done in Mexico. Also, most medications are available in Mexico, and a ton of them do not require a prescription from a physician. The few exceptions include controlled substances, narcotics and anxiolytics such as Valium or Xanax, for example, and antibiotics. Those medications are available in Mexico, but you must first get a prescription. But while the benefits of moving to Mexico are clear, the decision to leave the United States is not an easy one for many Americans. For some, the idea of leaving behind family, friends, and a familiar way of life is simply too daunting, even in the face of economic hardship. Others may worry about the language barrier, cultural differences, or safety concerns in a country with a reputation for crime and violence. Despite these challenges, however, the number of Americans moving to Mexico shows no sign of slowing down. As the cost of living in the United States continues to rise and the American dream slips further out of reach for many, more and more people are likely to see Mexico as a viable alternative to the broken promises of their homeland. Of course, it's important to note that moving to Mexico is not a panacea for all of America's problems. The country faces its own set of challenges, from political instability and corruption to income inequality and social unrest. However, for many Americans, the allure of a better life in Mexico is simply too strong to resist. The combination of a lower cost of living, a more relaxed lifestyle, and access to affordable healthcare and other services is proving to be a powerful draw for those seeking to escape the economic and social pressures of life in the United States. Mexico remains an excellent retirement destination for any budget too, a place where average Americans can afford to live like a millionaire for the cost of a middle-class lifestyle at home. The quality of your life improves in Mexico. Things take longer, so you'll learn to slow down. Goods and services cost less, so you can afford the kinds of luxuries only the very wealthy enjoy up north, like a maid, a cook, and a gardener. As the exodus from the American dream gathers pace, the frightening reality becomes apparent. The very fabric of the United States is unraveling, leaving its citizens no choice but to seek refuge in the uncertain embrace of foreign lands. The once unthinkable becomes the new normal, as the promise of prosperity and security that has long defined the American way of life crumbles into dust, replaced by the specter of an uncertain future, where the only certainty is the steady stream of those who turn